everybody. Welcome to Rock and Roll Shin-Soo Choo, episode number 45. My name is Gabe Estel. I'm here with my co-hosts Dennis Levi Leach and Jonathan Getz. How's it going, guys?
Woo!
Glad to hear it. All right. Rock and
traded.
Good deal. All right. Tonight we're going to cover a multitude of topics. We're going to cover Lady Gaga's David Bowie tribute from last week's Grammy Awards. Also, there is a new covers compilation of Grateful Dead songs by some, you should say, some of the sort of the hotter indie artists, for lack of a better term, in today's world, today's music world. So we're going to talk about that. Also, a little bit about the new Pitchfork lineup that was revealed earlier this week. And then also, baseball. Spring training is here. All teams have reported. All pitchers and catchers have reported. So we are certainly excited about that, and we're going to go over Jonah Keri from SI, his initial power rankings, and talk about our interpretations of those. So, should be fun. Let's go ahead and kick it off, guys. If you got to see the Grammys last week, fortunately now that we're living in the age of like YouTube clips, you don't really have to watch. You don't have to suffer through like a whole show anymore.
Yeah, you wait till you hear the news of like what's watch worthy, and then you like come back later.
And even Betsy and I, we're kind of award show junkies. Like we just like to. It's a reason to spend some time on the couch and
Levi, so this is what people that don't have children who get to sit down and
right. After the cats are tucked in,
right.
But the Grammys is one that we just never make an effort. It's like why? Right. I would rather sit through like the Screen Actors Guild than awards than the Grammys.
Right. Yeah, I didn't get to watch it. I've been meaning to. I saw the Gaga tribute, and we're going to talk about that. And I've been meaning to watch the Kendrick Lamar performance because I heard it was really good. And like a lot of people, I like that record a lot from that he came out with last, Pimp a Butterfly. So, I need to see that. But, with this Gaga tribute, it got a lot of criticism.
And actually, the first headline I saw was praising it.
Yeah. Rolling Stones, it's like, use the adjective astonishing, In
a clickbait world, that's a frequent adjective.
Yeah. I obviously you want people to watch the video and to go to the site, but yeah, I watched it just for the first time today, a little bit kind of a few days after the buzz has died down, and I thought it was okay. I guess what I didn't like is just, and maybe this fueled some of the criticism, I just don't like medleys.
Right. Yeah.
I don't like hearing 40 seconds of a song, if that, in some cases.
Don't get me wrong, it takes a lot of work to figure that out, because they did 7, 8, 10 songs in there, they fit in there, and that's impressive to execute that. That's hard to do. But after a while, it's like just eating a bunch of candy for dinner. It's like, it's just like halfway through, you're like, whoa, this I'm getting a stomachache here.
Yeah, I think it was evident that she worked hard, and I do think as a performer, she works her ass off.
Oh yeah, and she executes.
Yeah,
I agree with all that, and part of me was disappointed that they just gave the entire Bowie tribute to one artist.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. Now that would have been interesting if there was like a revolving stage, and all of a sudden like a different artist comes in a minute later and does like a minute of another song.
I would rather see 8 bands do a minute apiece of a Bowie song.
That would have been tough.
And granted, I will give her credit, man. She has pipes, and I thought she did the Star Spangled Banner. Was it at the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
I thought she did that really well.
She took liberties with it, but that's a pet peeve of mine is when singers take liberties with the national anthem. But anyway, only Hendrix can do that, by the way.
I don't know. Parts of it seem like she's working too hard.
A little bit. Yeah.
Like the wig was a little much.
There's always been kind of like she kind of teeters on contrived at times,
Yeah. I think she's mostly sincere.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Nile Rodgers was, I guess,
he lent a lot of credit to the performance.
He played Stevie, the part of Stevie, Ray Vaughan.
Right. And he's just an all-time pro, at these things.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he tweeted afterwards when a lot of the criticism started to emerge. He said, we did what we thought was right in our short time slot, which is, direct and to the point. And the format probably, they were limited with what they could do during the format. I personally would have rather heard just one tune. Just do one tune in its entirety.
Yeah, because it's like it was 7 minutes. They could have easily fit in 2 songs.
Yeah, so 1 or 2 tunes in their entirety would have been my preference.
Yeah.
Rather
well,
than.
And if anything, I would think David Bowie is a big enough artist where they could have done like a 30-minute or an hour-long Grammy special just about David Bowie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They could have had some other different artists do, make it to where it's like an actual tribute, not...
Yeah. Well, but then they set a precedent, and then they have to do it. Like, every year, they have to answer whether this person deserves an hour long.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Lemmy got a tribute, didn't he? I believe.
With the Hollywood Vampires?
Yeah.
Which was fun.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I can get behind that band.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it's for fun.
Right. It's not trying to be more than it is.
No. Definitely. I like Duff as the go-to bass player too for like celebrity kind of projects.
Yeah, he's ready.
He's
I just saw him on a commercial. What the hell was it for?
Really?
Yeah, Duff's on a commercial now. He's selling, or he's doing something.
He's got a finance degree.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he went back to school a while back ago. I mean, like after
cool.
being on his peak. More power to him. Duff knows how to manage his money, so so everybody can watch the Gaga tribute if you'd like, and tell us your thoughts on it. Moving on to our next topic, I want to talk about, there is a tribute coming out it's been talked about for quite a while now. I remember reading about it, maybe a year ago even.
It actually dates back all the way to 2011.
Okay, so
first
several years ago.
Yeah.
And it's, as in the intro to the show, and a few minutes ago when I talked about what topics we were going to cover, I almost said, a surprising slew of artists, or maybe I did. I don't know. I don't know if it's that surprising, because a lot of these bands over the last 5 years have paid homage to the dead in their own, if they've covered the tunes live, or in interviews they've cited them as, an influence, which kind of, I guess, probably has the kind of hipster community scratching its head.
And that's it. I think that's a part of it. That's why it's considered, quote, surprising.
Yeah.
Is that I don't think that the dead have really been accepted, for whatever that word means, into that indie community, like that. The indie fan base.
Right. Yeah, even if these bands are citing them as a big influence.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like I was watching footage of War on Drugs playing Touch of Grey, and like most of the audience looked pretty disinterested.
Right.
What's this new song? We haven't heard this War on Drugs song before.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this. I'm excited to hear it.
Oh yeah.
I like it because I live in those two worlds, like I like those bands, but I also like the Grateful Dead a lot. And as I get older, I'm not ashamed to admit it, like for, what I mean? Sometimes if you say you like the Dead, people kind of pigeonhole your taste, unfairly probably. But I would rather see, and I want to get Levi's take on this, I would rather hear these bands who are quote unquote unlikely contributors. I'm more curious to hear their take than I would, the bands that are more commonly associated with that scene.
Yeah.
Like I don't, the bands.
Insert jam band here.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, yeah, I do think it makes for, in the long run, a more interesting final product for sure. When I first heard about it, I remember, like you said, I think I heard about it 2 years ago, maybe, and I was like, this is like, I guess, at first I was like, is this going to be like, a bunch of bluegrass bands tribute to AC/DC, or you know what I mean, like, cause like, or something, you know what I mean. Like, I wasn't sure how to spin this. Like, I didn't understand that many indie bands had been influenced by the Grateful Dead to do it. But I think it will be an interesting final product.
It's supposed to be like 5.5 hours of stuff.
Wow.
Everybody's on board, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, did we say exactly what it was? With
the title of it?
Or it's kind of led or curated by some dudes from the National.
Right.
And it's part of the Red Hot organization. It's
called The Future Heart.
Yeah.
Right?
Is that it?
Something like that?
Okay.
Yeah.
The Future Heart. Yeah.
Right. And for those of you who haven't been following this, I'll just list some of the bands right now. Obviously, as Jonathan mentioned, The National, Jim James and My Morning Jacket, The War on Drugs, Kurt Vile, Bon Iver, Grizzly Bear, Flaming Lips, Wilco. So yeah, it's a pretty impressive list.
And it sounds like they're trying to take an approach where, like you said, it's a unique approach. Where they're encouraging them to really take chances with these songs and take them places maybe they haven't been before.
Yeah.
And Unknown Mortal Orchestra's Shakedown Street, I'm very excited to hear that because I'm big fans of both.
Yeah, I'm all about it, man. I hope it's a success, and I hope people dig it.
I heard a live version of Wilco and Bob Weir doing St. Stephen.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it can work. I think to like a more diehard Grateful Dead fan, like on the surface, it's like, wow, I haven't heard of a lot of those bands.
And maybe
not me personally. What I'm saying is like the average Deadhead,
right?
You ask them, you know, if they've heard of a ton of those bands, they're going to be like, no, I haven't.
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity to get some new people meeting each other in terms of fan bases, and you know, get those Deadheads to learn about these bands, and get these indie bands fans to learn about the Dead.
You know, this is kind of indicative of, or it harkens back to the approach that Bonnaroo took right around 2003. You know, it was, and I'm using kind of generic labels here, but it was kind of like hipster meets hippie. You know, is like just in how they approached the lineup. You know, like they still kept like, you know, Widespread Panic. They kept space for them, but you know, they also had Sonic Youth, and then they started to have a lot of younger bands at Bonnaroo as well, and I like that. You know, I mean, there's plenty of other festivals where you can go see the Yonder Mountain String Band or something like that if you want to. And I don't know, I shouldn't say my tone there is kind of derisive, but it's I think it harkens back to the approach that a lot of the bigger festivals have taken. You know, kind of like rooted in some of the jam band scene, but also you know looking forward as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have that pivot for some people who are anxious to, you know, learn about new music and are ready to like, you know, new things, which sounds like it's a really simple thing to do, but it's not always. I remember, you know, when I first saw Neil Young sit in with Pearl Jam at the MTV Video Music Awards in like '93, I believe. You know, before then my familiarity with Neil Young was pretty limited, other than FM radio, and then to see that, it opened up a lot for me, and you know, I in some ways consider Neil Young, you know, 4 days out of the week, he's my favorite artist of all time. And just to have that moment where it's like, oh, I get it. Like I see how these two things are relatable, when otherwise maybe I was just kind of glancing it over, this other thing initially. And now it's like, okay, I can pivot off of this and really go down another path. Otherwise I might not have.
And I think that was a really great time in music in which a lot of people were wearing their influences on the sleeve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that maybe that's not as prevalent today, but it might not be as prevalent sometimes. Sometimes I think it's tough to hear to hear more. You know what I mean? I don't hear a lot of people referencing vintage music as much.
Yeah, it's just it's there, so much out there.
There's so much stuff to sift through.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now in every year, it's just like you can have any new band that comes out could have that many more influences, and it's not as cut and dry as it used to be. Yeah. So it's fascinating. I mean, rock and roll is still only like 60 years old. Yeah. It's hard to fathom like how in what infancy this whole music thing is. Not to get like too deep and out there, but have you ever really looked at your hands?
Yeah, absolutely. It's
exciting.
It's a tree with many branches, you know. So yeah, I'm excited. I hope they have. I don't know if there's going to be like a concert, you know, where some of these bands collaborate.
Actually, yeah, there is supposed to be something up in Wisconsin, in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It sounds like.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, that's that's an interesting location. All right, that's cool. But yeah, all right. So not San Francisco or New York City, but that's cool.
I'll have to double check that, and I'll put the link on the website.
Right on. Excellent. Well, we look forward to that project, The Future Heart. And then also in music news, Pitchfork, the now kind of veteran Chicago festival. It's been around now for over 10 years, and a lot of big artists have passed through there, and certainly the scope of the festival has expanded, and now Condé Nast owns Pitchfork. I don't know if that means, you know, they can book even more high caliber acts or not, but you know, this lineup looks kind of on par with the past few years. So it's going to be over 3 nights in July in Chicago. It's usually right around the same weekend every year, just about in mid-July. And the highlight for me would be Brian Wilson performing Pet Sounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then there were a lot of other big acts there. Sufjan Stevens, Broken Social Scene Reunion, one of Levi's favorites, Kamasi Washington? Yeah. I hope I pronounced that right.
He was the musical director on that To Pimp a Butterfly album.
Oh, yeah, right. Which, I really... Kendrick Lamar, I think, has played Pitchfork before. But anyway, yeah, you can check out the whole lineup at Pitchfork's website. Also, Savages are on there. I really like that new Savages record quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I would definitely dig them. So you know, we'll take a look here, and we can all offer the day that we would like to see. It looks like the Friday lineup, I don't know if it starts a little bit later in the day, is a little shorter. Than Saturday and Sunday. I would imagine. Yeah, they just get off to a little bit of a late start on Friday. So, Jonathan, what about you? What day would you pick?
I think I would go Friday because of Broken Social Scene. That is my white whale for live bands right now. I've never seen them, and I really, really like Broken Social Scene. Though I would really, at the same time, like to see Royal Headache, and the Sufjan Stevens would be good. I've never seen him, and otherwise, I hold on. Car Seat Headrest. That's not a real band, right? That's an awful band. It might be the worst band name of 2016. That's fucking fake, right?
I don't know. It's a funny, it's a funny name. Yeah.
It's like trying too hard. I don't know. Maybe it's like amazing music. But anyway, Friday. I don't even care about anything else. I would go just for Broken Social Scene. What is Carly Rae Jepsen? Is like she now? Is that?
It might just be an ironic addition to the lineup.
Or are they going for the 12-year-old crowd here?
I don't know. It might be just a.
Can parents drop off their kids at Carly Rae Jepsen and then just like go wherever they want? Like they'll watch the kids. Is that how this is going to work?
I don't know.
Wow.
So Broken Social Scene, like, what is the reunion lineup? Like,
I don't know.
In the band,
you know, they play festivals. It seems like every year. Like they'll play like 1 or 2 dates. It seems like, but they'll never do it. They won't do a tour.
Right.
And so I think it can be like maybe you don't even know until a few weeks before like who will be there. My favorite member is Andrew Whiteman, Of course, I mean Kevin Drew would have to be there, I think, but Andrew Whiteman is my favorite member because of his work with what he did with Apostle of Hustle. So I would really hope that he would be there, but I would probably see him regardless.
Right, Levi. What about you? What day would you select?
I gotta go Saturday.
Yeah,
Brian Wilson for sure. I mean, if you live in the greater Chicago area and you're not there to see Brian Wilson do Pet Sounds,
right?
I mean, it's a once in a lifetime type of opportunity.
I think that he might have Al Hardin playing in his band too.
Yeah,
nice.
Which I've always liked Al Hardin a lot. I always thought he was
and also
one of the Beach Boys' secret weapons. You know?
Sidebar: if I pick Saturday, I can also sneak in a Diggable Planets show.
Right.
Because I'm cool like that.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I would definitely see them too. I mean, there's, I'm not going to be able to go to all 3 nights. It's just, babysitters are expensive and all of that. So if I am, it's definitely going to be Saturday as well, for the same reasons Levi mentioned. Now, granted, Brian Wilson in 2016, that might be taking a little bit of a chance, just to, his vocals and his age and
and his just general demeanor live.
And it's just just who he is and his history. The performance will probably be somewhat flawed and reflective of his age, but
right.
Right.
I think it's one of those things where it's like I mean, obvious living legend, and it's one of those things where when can you say you saw a living legend perform their greatest work in its entirety?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't get a ton of opportunities in life to be able to say that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to make it because I for Saturday. That'd be worth the price of admission.
I highly recommend if you go on Sunday to see Woods. Woods is a phenomenal band.
Yeah, I've listened to them a couple times. I'm not intimately familiar.
I highly recommend them.
Cool, good deal.
Actually, they're going to be coming through Kansas City, so I will be able to go see them at the Riot Room. So
2 days would be unlikely for me, but we'll see. Yeah. All right, now let's move on to baseball. Spring training, woohoo, is here. So, gosh, they'll probably be playing games in about a week or so, I would assume. All teams have now reported to either Arizona or Florida. And, there still are a handful of unsigned free agents, although that list is dwindling. There might be some people now that just you'll probably hear some retirement announcements soon, I would guess, just because some veterans that I saw on the list that didn't get picked, that haven't declared retirement, but yet haven't gotten picked up by a team. I would assume they would just
Some of them will go, and it seems to be the trend of late where they'll go halfway through the season and then sign with somebody.
Yeah,
sign with a contender.
Yeah,
which I think is lame, but anyway.
Jason Stark on ESPN always does his all unemployed team around this time of year. And you can piece together a pretty decent lineup with some of the guys that are left. Did Fowler get signed?
I don't know.
I'd heard Baltimore was close to signing him.
Yeah, I'll check that out now.
That's the team with the most interest, and I heard a deal was getting close to being finalized. So he's probably, one of the biggest difference makers that's left.
Says they're discussing 2 years at $24 million.
It's not bad for him.
But nothing is settled.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know what I mean? The Orioles are in the driver's seat at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. So there's still, I don't know how many big impact players are left. Fowler would probably be the biggest name, and then on the pitching side, the Orioles, same team. I think they're going after Gallardo as well.
Yeah.
So he's by far the biggest pitcher left.
Mm-hmm.
The one that could round out a rotation well. And everybody else is just kind of David Freese is there, people that sort of might not make much of a difference.
Even Freeze should just go open up a bar in St. Louis. I mean, the dude, right. The dude's probably a god there after his World Series performance for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I think one of the most interesting things that has transpired in the last week or so for the Cubs is that the Cubs have invited Matt Merton back to spring training. Matt Merton, the red-haired Matt Merton from like 2007, maybe.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, and so I guess he went to Japan in 2010 and like broke like hitting records and stuff.
Of course.
Yeah. Nice.
And so like he's played in Japan the last like I don't know how many years, and so now, the Cubs invited him back. So Matt Merton. Try to make it on the Cubs team again.
Good luck. Yeah, I always like spring training. We talked about this, I think, a little bit last season. I always like to hear like the veterans trying to make the comeback.
Yeah, I thought it was
like White Sox had Brad Penny last year.
Yeah, he's always making a go of it.
Right. I think it's fun stories.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jonathan had shared a link with Levi and I. Jonah Keri, who writes for Sports Illustrated. He has already devised a top 30, like his power rankings, you could call them. And who's number one? Well, Levi. So yeah, I'm just echoing what you're going to hear a lot of this year in reference to the Cubs.
It's so much immense pressure. I'm not even on the team, and I'm feeling pressure to win games.
Seriously,
like it's like, what the hell can I do to help the team?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, yes, I would agree that. I mean, if I had to fill out one of these, and we will do our predictions here in the coming weeks as it gets a little closer to opening day, our podcast will make predictions. Hopefully they'll be better than last year's. But I was all about Cleveland last year, and we see how that turned.
And I the Red Sox.
Levi was all about Seattle.
Yeah, I thought Seattle was gonna not.
Which those weren't crazy picks a year ago. But anyway. If I had to fill out one of these power rankings, I would put the Cubs at number one too. Obviously you don't win the season on paper, but yeah, I would.
No respect for Kansas City,
right?
The most balanced team. The Cubs are.
Yeah. No, I do agree. The Cubs, and they made the biggest splash in the offseason, so that helped them a lot to gain that kind of to go up that high on people's lists, and you know what I mean? And so, like Jonathan just mentioned, I think people are down on KC again, man. We talked about this at the beginning of last year.
People were expecting them to win like 74 games and things.
And somebody has already predicted that. Somebody has predicted that this year already, that they're going to win 70-something games, and it's like, really?
They said that they were gonna, because of what the Royals did last year, they were gonna figure that into like all these PECOTA projections and these sabermetricians who I defend. We're gonna consider that like how they did what they did, even though they shouldn't have been able to do it, considering what the database spat back out at them, 77 wins or something, and regardless, I guess they still think something like 77 wins. And so to have him number 10, it's just interesting. It's like it's like you're when Syracuse won the national won the collegiate basketball tournament as like a 4 seed. Or a 5 seed
when they had Carmelo
Anthony. And if you think about it, it's like, okay, so that means they were probably ranked like the last regular season ranking, they were probably like 15th or 20th, somewhere in there. And so they won the championship, and so they were ranked number 1 for exactly 1 week. And then the next year, Carmelo's gone after his freshman year, so preseason rankings, they're probably like not even ranked in the top 25. And that's kind of like what the Royals have going here. It's like they won the World Series, they were number 1 essentially for a single week. They have a trophy to show for it, but they were never ever considered probably number 1 in many people's power rankings last year or this year.
Yeah, I still think they're the best team in the American League. To me, it looks like the National League could be a little better than the American League this year.
Yeah, he's got 5 of his top 6 are National League teams.
Yeah, and I would say that, like, when it comes to total wins and losses, I think the National League will be a little stronger.
Well, I mean, this could be the year. I might, maybe one more National League All-Star Game victory before I die. That'd be great.
Right.
I could handle that.
Yeah. I that stood out to me as well, Jonathan. The Kansas City I thought was ranked way too low, and
maybe they're right. I mean, I wouldn't be totally surprised.
You know what what I came away with from this list the most thing that stood out to me was that the Chicago White Sox are only 4 spots behind the St. Louis Cardinals.
Woohoo! Good deal.
And actually, most of that division is in the top 17. 4 out of the 5 teams are in the top half, essentially, of MLB. And to actually do a quick rundown. So it's Cubs 1, Mets 2, Astros 3, Dodgers 4, and Pirates 5.
Mm-hmm. Cardinals still won 100 games last year. Somehow.
Oh, yeah.
He mentioned that interesting stat about ERA with runners and situational luck, which I had heard of before, but I had never heard of it in the terms of the Cardinals' ERA with runners in scoring position was just phenomenal last year.
Yeah,
and that this year it probably wouldn't be as good, and hence they would break down. But yeah, what they did last year was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, they are 13, and the White Sox are 17 on that list.
Which I think he got the White Sox probably right. To me, they're not much more than a 500 team. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I will say this, they're, and I've said this on the podcast before, so this is nothing new. I would rather see the team, I'd like to see the team look long term a little more than just kind of this patchwork sort of, kind of painting the corners.
Gianna Navarro and Alex Avila.
Yeah, right. I'm worried about shortstop and catcher for the White Sox, but yeah, he's probably right. They, with 2 wild card spots available now, that increases a lot of teams. A lot of teams that are sort of on the margin, that are on the bubble. It increases their chances.
It's like all but, because of the second wild card, it's like all but 4 teams are still kind of in it by early September.
Yeah, and baseball's parity has increased quite a bit in recent years. Obviously, the Royals won the World Series. There's only like 5 or 6 teams this year that are probably going to be like just awful. Like the Phillies are going to suck. Like the God, who else? The Brewers are going to suck. The Braves. Although I think in about 2 or 3 years, the Braves are going to be really good. Like their farm system is loaded, I guess. And then they pulled off, I think, one of the best deals. They got the number 1 draft pick, Dansby Swanson.
Yeah, right.
For just Shelby Miller, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Atlanta's going to be good in 2-3 years.
Yeah.
They're going to be really good. Nothing else as far as I think the Twins are going to be better than he thinks they'll be.
Yeah, I mean they had a pretty good last year. Everybody thought they'd finish last.
Yeah, right.
And look what they did.
They've got a lot of young talent. Molitor seems like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So I think the Twins are. If I had to fill out predictions today, I'd probably pencil in the Twins as one of those wild card spots in the AL. Yeah, I think I would. Some teams that I don't know where I would put them. Here are 5: Toronto, St. Louis, Washington, Cleveland, and the Dodgers.
I'm still scared of Toronto and the Dodgers for sure.
I think both of those teams are going to be good. I think the Dodgers are still going to be good despite having a relatively quiet off season. The Dodgers have a lot of young talent too. The Dodgers have
a ton of
the Dodgers have a ton of money, but they also have a good farm system, so they can put a pretty good product on the field, and then they've got another product coming up through the pipeline. So that's an enviable place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you look at a team like the Cubs, who I think are going to be really good for the next at least 3-4 seasons. That a lot of that minor league talent now has arrived at the big league level.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those 5 teams, to me, I don't really know where to put them. I mean, last year I think I predicted all of them to make the playoffs. I don't know about Toronto, but that could happen this year. But none of those teams are like those 5 that I mentioned. They're not. None of them are like slam dunks to me.
Yeah, Toronto's bats still scare the crap out of me, and I would go ahead and Sharpie them in for the playoffs in some shape or form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Levi, week's pay. If you had to bet a week's pay on the Cubs winning, making it to at least the NLCS right now, would you do it? Would you make that bet?
I think so.
You would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be so bold as to say they're gonna win it all, but I think the Cubs will be in the NLCS again.
Might be facing the Mets again. When I look at the rest of the NL, I think the team that would stack up the best against the Cubs would be the Giants in the playoffs. Yeah. San Francisco is going to be tough this year.
Mm-hmm.
They went out and made a bunch of moves to it. They already had a pretty decent team, just kind of an off year. But yeah, the Giants would stack up well against the Cubs. I think they would give them the most trouble in the playoffs. And the Mets too, because of that rotation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that Mets rotation is impressive. But yeah, for the Giants to go out and get Cueto and Samardzija makes it interesting. However, I would rather buy stock in the Mets rotation than the Giants rotation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would take. I will let you choose the 2 guys off the Mets that you give me for Cueto and Samardzija.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have. That's well put. I have heard that the Cubs, some people think, have the best rotation in baseball.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't. Well, like here,
I think the Cubs have a good rotation.
We're talking 1 through 5. I think 1 through 3. I mean, you can't argue against the Mets. I think like those 3 Mets guys, Harvey, DeGrom, and Syndergaard, versus Arrieta, Lester, and Lackey. I'm gonna take the Mets. But if you look at 1 through 5,
well, and the thing that I think the Cubs may sneak up on some people on this year, not to make bold predictions, but I think the Cubs bullpen is going to be pretty good because there's about 10 or 11 arms competing for like 7 spots or whatever.
Right.
And so I think the Cubs bullpen is going to be even better than it was.
Yeah. I mean, the Cubs check all the boxes, man. I mean, just
got to stay healthy.
Every box is checked. Offense,
a little chemistry
is there. God, they're young.
I mean, just from last year, it seems like the chemistry is there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The key.
Well, you still got a lot of new guys coming in. That you gotta rebuild
it. Absolutely.
And aside from Hayward, I don't even know if the Cubs needed all those guys.
Right.
I thought Zobrist was overspending, or like not overspending,
He's 34.
Unneeded.
Yeah, 4 years at 34.
Seemed unneeded.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, Zobrist is.
I hope he has.
I love his versatility.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's 4-year deal at 34 years old.
Yep. That's why I'm glad the Royals didn't re-sign him.
Yeah, and Lackey, I get. It's only a 2-year deal, so it's nothing crazy. Although, if I were the Cubs and my window for winning looks pretty wide right now, they're going to be good for 4 years. I would have signed somebody a little younger than Lackey. I would have gone with.
Well, would they have gone? After Price, do you think they made a big push for Price? I'm sure that they called.
Yeah, but even not Price, like somebody in that sort of, I don't know, maybe Kennedy, maybe even Gallardo. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it's postseason.
Part of the Lackey thing was they got a pretty good pitcher out of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to take it away from like their biggest
from the card. You're right, sure. And he knows how to pitch in the postseason.
Yeah, he's got playoff experience.
And so to be able to take 2 of the Cardinals' best players in one off season.
Yeah, it was a little like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And I've never been able to experience that ever. So it's a new feeling. I'm not used to any of this.
Yeah. Well,
it'll be fun.
Yeah, that's all I can say too. Yeah, definitely have fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm getting psyched.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for baseball.
Yeah. Bring it on. That's why we're here. Life has a purpose again. That spring training has started. All right. So anyway, everybody, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at RockinChew. That's in as in Neil Diamond and Vince Neil as well.
A little before and after there.
That's right.
Vince Neil Diamond.
Don't go away, Matt. Just go away. So you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at RockinChew. Also, you can like us on Facebook, and then you can hear previous episodes as well as a lot of cool links and videos.
Interviews with some of your favorite artists.
Interviews with, we've had a great run of interviews lately, and hopefully we'll continue that. You can find all of that at rockchew.com. So rockchew, no N in that one. So anyway, until next time, we will see everybody. Take care.
Peace.